Hello, I am going to show you a quick and easy way to get started using a Schoology course in a teacher-directed class. This class is an ESL class, but it could be used in ABE or any other teacher-directed class. We're going to look at someone who's never used Schoology before. This teacher is called Staff Teacher, and I've just logged in. So this is my dashboard. I'm at AFOC, as you can tell, so I am seeing the school's announcements, and if I click on courses, I'm going to see the courses that I am enrolled in. Now, Schoology automatically builds courses for teachers that have all your students in them. Those courses have names like ESL Advanced Low 2019 9058, blah blah blah. There's all this number that comes after the course name. What this indicates is the school year, the site name, the section number, and the course number. So if you have 4 courses in one section, you're going to have 4 Schoology courses built. I'm going to click on the course I'd like to use for Schoology. It's going to open up the blank course. Now, in your situation, your students will be in here under members. In my situation, the only person in here is me. I'm all alone. Now, if you orient yourself to the menu on the left, there is materials. That's the landing page for your course. Anyone who just goes into your course will end up on materials. This can be changed, and I'll show you how. There's updates. A lot of teachers set this as the landing page so that when students come in, they go straight to updates, and you can provide announcements here to your class. There's gradebook. A lot of teachers use gradebook to track their students' progress. There's grade setup. There's mastery, badges, members, which I've already shown you, analytics, which takes you to a new page, and workload planning and conferences and Newsella. The things you would like to worry about today for our very beginning, just starting to use your course, are materials, updates, and members. Okay, so I'm going to go to course options, and I'm going to go ahead and click Edit Privacy Course Settings. If you scroll down to the first page, you see it says default landing page. Why don't we change that to updates? This means that when people go into your course, the first thing they're going to see is that updates page. I'm going to click this link here to get back into my course. So now when I click on the course, it'll take me into updates. This is where I can put things like contact information, helpful links, things that you know that they're going to need to go back to again and again. I wouldn't update too much. It might get cluttery. I would recommend just updating when something is really important. Okay. I'm going to go into materials. Now, the way Schoology materials work is you have a blank course and you drop materials into it, or you copy materials into it. So Schoology courses are basically a blank shell, and you could put folders in, just like in Google Drive or any other file sharing or file housing system. And inside those folders, you can have things like quizzes, assignments, discussions, but it's basically just a blank open shell where you drop materials. The first thing I'm going to recommend you do is click Add Materials and add a folder. I'm going to title this folder Week 1. And I'm going to make it green, because green means go. And if you have students who need a little bit more instructions, you can type here something that says, I don't know, click here for your Week 1 assignments. Or you can clarify what Week 1 is. Week of April 27, 2020. You can type anything you like here that you think your students might need to look at or understand before they go into the folder. I also want you to notice down here at the bottom where it says published. You can either have it so that it publishes today by clicking published. You can either have it so that it's invisible to your students, it's not published yet, or you can have it so that it publishes in the future on a start date, or you can have it so that it's published or available during a certain date range. For example, if you want to build a folder now that's only available during the week of Cinco de Mayo because you're doing something seasonal, or if you want to do something like build all your folders now and then publish them 1 week apart. So you're going to publish them on start dates. However you want to use this, right now I'm going to go ahead and click Published. And that's the default. So in general, anything you do automatically will be published unless you select something else. So just know that when you're in a class and your students can see the work you're publishing unless you click Unpublished or some other choice down here. Okay, so that's what that looks like. I've created a folder and there's some instructions here for students if you think they need them. I'll click on it. Now what we're seeing is we're seeing the inside of this folder, and this folder is empty. I'm going to go back and I want to show you something else. If I click this little arrow, it's actually going to kind of open the folder right here and not take me to a new page. So if you're wanting to quickly add things into a folder and not kind of go back and forth between clicking the folder and now you're in it and you moved off your page, or you know what I mean, you can always just kind of click this little down arrow and it will line up all the things in your folder so you can see them in a nice neat little list. I'm going to use this feature where I click the link so that we're only looking in the week 1 folder. Okay, the first thing I'm going to recommend you do is add a page. I'm going to click Add Materials and I'm going to click Add Page. Now, this is an informational item. This is not an assignment. This is not a quiz. This is only for information to your students, for learning. So this is where you could put things like if you would like to embed a video so they can watch a video and then read some text about it. This is where you could post announcements if you wanted them to like read a page of information on something. This is where you could post anything that's just informational. You could add pictures here. You could do whatever you want. We're not going to get too crazy right now. I'm just going to show you how to give your students the instructions for this week. So I'm going to call this page Week 1 Instructions, or Week 1 Schedule, maybe Week 1 Schedule. Now, there's a lot of things here. You see all the choices in this little bullet list here, or this little menu toolbar here. What I'm going to recommend is this. Build your schedule in Word or Google Documents or something that you're familiar with. Whatever you do in this, you can just simply copy it and paste it into your page. Usually most of the formatting will stay, so let's check that out. Let me hit Create and we'll take a look at what it looks like once the page converts it. So now inside my folder I have my Week 1 schedule. If I click on it, we can see what it looks like. There. It looks nice. So that was pretty quick and easy, and you didn't have to learn how to use that menu bar in Pages. All you had to do was just build your page in whatever software you're comfortable in, Word or Google Documents. Now, if you get pretty fancy with formatting and fonts, they won't all transfer in. I'd recommend keep it simple. Now for this class, the sample schedule I put together is a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning. Yours might be slightly different, but here's the schedule I put together for this class just as a sample. I know everybody's in a different situation. On Monday, they're going to have a 1-hour Zoom meeting, which I don't know about you, but that's about the maximum I can keep anybody interested on Zoom. And here's the information to that Zoom meeting. Very simple for your students so that they see their whole week's work lined up for them. On Tuesday, they're supposed to practice on Burlington English for 1 hour, and here's their login information. On Wednesday, you'd like them to participate in a discussion, do a worksheet, and a quiz, and I'll help you with that right now. And then on Thursday, they're going to have another Zoom meeting. So you've got 2 hours of synchronous learning and about 2 or 3 hours of asynchronous learning happening this week. Depending on how much time they have, they might want to end up spending more time on Burlington. So you're giving them that option for extension by providing a software here that has extension capabilities like Burlington, Reading Horizons, even Khan Academy. And then on Wednesday, you're giving them something that you can see and you can grade and you can really see how they did. Now, if you notice, this Wednesday one is the only one I'm going to have to build anything in Schoology for. So we're going to work on that together now. So I'm going to go back and click on my week 1 folder up here again. Now you notice in my Schoology folder, I have week 1 schedule, and now I can add materials. And I don't know if you remember, I said they're going to do a discussion this week. So I'm going to go ahead and add that discussion. So I'm going to go add materials, add discussion. Cool. So this is week 1. So how about I'll do a discussion called Introduce Yourself. Now I can type in instructions here that says, what's your name? Oh, I'm just typing in some generic discussion, introduce yourself questions. Another option here that I want to show you that students really, really enjoy, although you might not want to do it, is there's this thing here that says insert content. And there's a thing here that says insert a link, insert image media. This image media one right here, this allows you to upload a video. Now, if you would like, you could record a video of yourself saying something to your students here, like, what's your name? And use a speaking and listening component, and then have your discussion prompt have a video in it. This is pretty fancy, so don't feel like you need to do that right away, but I just wanted to show you that that's an option. You could insert a video from YouTube and say, what did you think about what happened in that video? You could do a lot of things here in your discussion. It doesn't just have to be text. Maybe that's something you'll experiment with in week 2. For the meantime, you have your discussion questions, and then perhaps you have some instructions that say, please answer and respond to at least one of your fellow students. Whatever norms you'd like to create there. Maybe you'd want to write something here about keeping it respectful or appropriate, your choice. You don't have to use a due date. You don't have to enable grading. This is all you have to do, and you can click create. Now your students will be able to go in and input comments. Just so you know, they can also input videos. So it is possible moving forward. A lot of ESL students and teachers have enjoyed this, that the teacher's discussion prompt is a video. The students' responses are also videos done on their phones. This is very fun. For now though, you're trying to keep it simple. We can just have some text right here. That's fine. Okay, I'm returning to week 1. Great. You've done an introduce yourself discussion, and you have your week 1 schedule. The next thing you told your students you would do on the schedule is that they were going to do a verbs worksheet. I'm going to add file, link, or external tool. I'm going to click file. I'm going to attach a file. Basically just finding it on my computer, right? Click on the future tense, verbs, and open. See, it's there. It says complete. Okay. So I don't know about you. If I was a student, see it says future tense verbs.png. I find that a bit confusing. So I always try to encourage people to remember that what you see here is what your students see. The little gear next to it, I think I'm going to go ahead and edit it. I'm going to edit this name to verbs worksheet. Why am I calling it that? Because that's what it said in the schedule. So your students know what to look for. They know to look for a verbs worksheet. I'm calling it the same thing to make it easy for them. So that's where you can edit the names of your files that you upload. I think that's pretty important. Okay, I've done my verbs worksheet. Do you think now that I'm doing this, I'm a little bit worried that my students will see a worksheet and they'll be like, okay, I don't understand. Do I print this? I don't have a printer. What am I supposed to do with this? So I think I'm going to go back, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the schedule, maybe give them some instructions here. Now that I see what that looks like, I think that might be a bit confusing for them. So I'm going to go into this page, click edit page. There's that verbs worksheet. Verbs worksheet. Do on your own paper. There. Save changes. Going back into the week 1 folder. Now, some people do these worksheets as assignments. You can do add materials, add assignment, and you can have them do the worksheet and there's a place for them to upload their responses. I think on this first how to get started on Schoology video, I am not going to do add assignment because I think that adds a little bit of a layer of complexity, and maybe that's something you do in week 2. In week 1, it's all about just connecting with your students and showing them how to get the resources and how to start learning. So I'm going to save assignments maybe for the next level. For now, they can view the worksheet and do it on their own paper. Fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and add that quiz I told them they have to take. So you have 2 choices here. You have a test quiz, which is much easier for students to navigate, and you have assessment, which has a lot more choices as far as the types of questions and answers you can do. And Schoology has let us know that they're ultimately going to phase out test quiz and move into assessment. That's probably at least a year away, so I'm just going to go ahead and use test quiz because it's easier. Remember I told the student this is going to be the verbs quiz, so I'm calling it the verbs quiz. It's not due on any particular date. Sure, it's worth 100 points. Category. You are going to have to create a grading category here when you do your quizzes. So I'm going to create a new grading category that's called quizzes. Maybe later on you'll have a grading category that's called assignments because you will learn to use that assignments feature. Okay, you're in the right grading period, everything is fine, just click create. All right, this is a quiz. This is an empty quiz. I'm going to go ahead and just give them a few questions to do. Now, I don't know if you noticed this thing here that says submissions disabled. Whenever you create a quiz or an assessment, you always have to enable all of the things you need to do as far as enabling submissions, creating instructions. These can all be done on the settings page of the quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and enable. Is there a time limit? You can decide. Can they do it more than once? I think for the purposes of learning, sure, they can do it as many times as they want. I'll pick the max, 20 times. Do I want to randomize the questions? No. Do I want to have them grade by their lowest score, by their last score, their highest score, or their average score? Your choice. I usually choose highest because students like that. Now, do you want page breaks between the questions? Do you want one question per page? These are all choices you have, and you can kind of familiarize yourself here. If students leave and come back, can they resume where they left off? Can students view their submissions with the correct answers? Oh, if the quiz is just for learning and you want them to see what the right answer was, yeah, maybe so. So all these things are settings that you can do in a test or a quiz. Instructions, you can type student instructions here. And again, just like with discussions, if you wanted, you could add under image media a video of yourself explaining the instructions if you would like to get fancy. Okay, this all looks good to me. I'm going to save changes after you've had a chance to kind of review these settings. And I will do a couple questions just to make sure they learned something this week. Here are the choices for test quiz. Again, this is a much simpler interface in the assessments, but it doesn't do that many different types of things. So I'm going to let you decide how you'd like to do this. I'll do a multiple choice. And I'm just going to go ahead and type some random things in here. And bunny is the correct answer. Check these settings, make sure you're happy with it, and create the question. Now I'm going to do a true-false question. Check the settings here, make sure you're happy with it. Okay, and you can just go like that, give them a few questions for the quiz for the week. This quiz should take you about, 15 minutes or so to set up if you have your questions written. And go back to week 1. Now your week 1 is all set. You are done. Here's what they'll be working on this week. On Monday, you'll have an hour-long Zoom meeting with them. On Tuesday, they'll practice on Burlington for an hour. Wednesday, they'll do these things you built in Schoology. And Thursday, another hour meeting with them. Some people do only one Zoom meeting per week, a little bit more work in Schoology, etc. So there's a sample of what a week could look like in your classroom. I hope this has been helpful, and I encourage you to set up workshops at your sites for things like more info on quizzes and how to do assignments and more details on those different materials in a Schoology course. But for now, here's something that can help you get started.